When a superpower thousands of miles away warns another about a small patch of desert, you know it's never just about the land. It's about history. It's about empire. And most importantly, it's about the power to shape the future. And that's exactly what's happening right now. China has just issued a stark warning to Israel. Stop a billion-dollar project in the West Bank. It's a project so small on the map, yet so vast in its potential consequences it could ignite the Middle East all over again. This is the E1 project, a seemingly empty stretch of rocky hills connecting the Israeli settlement of Ma'ale Adumim to Jerusalem. Israel's defense ministry has given the green light to a massive $1 billion plan. We're talking about more than 3,000 new housing units, complete with roads, tunnels, and all the utilities needed to bind this settlement belt even tighter to the capital. For Israeli planners, this is just development, it's progress. But for much of the world, it's a dividing line. It's a construction zone that could effectively split the West Bank in two, making the dream of a contiguous, viable Palestinian state nearly impossible to draw on any map. And then, just as the dust was settling on this decision, a statement came. But it wasn't from Washington or Brussels, the usual voices in this conflict. It came from Beijing. China's foreign ministry voiced strong opposition, warning that any settlement expansion in the E1 area is a violation of international law and poses a grave threat to regional stability. Now for Beijing, this wasn't some emotional plea. This was strategic positioning, a deliberate, calculated message from a rising empire inserting itself directly into the heart of the world's oldest and most intractable conflict. Think about it. China has no armies stationed here. It has no deep-rooted religious stake in the Holy Land, no colonial past to answer for. So what does it have? It has leverage. Immense economic leverage. We're talking about trade routes, massive oil contracts, and infrastructure investments that stretch all the way from Tehran to Cairo. Beijing's diplomats are pragmatists. They know that if violence returns to this region, if the conflict escalates, fuel prices will surge and instability will spread like wildfire. That threatens the Belt and Road Initiative, their fragile multi-trillion-dollar web of global partnerships. So, China issues a warning. But it's not a warning born from compassion. It's a warning born from cold, hard calculation. And the language they used? It was masterful. China's warning echoed the precise language of the United Nations. It cited violations of international law and Security Council resolutions that have long been ignored or at least downplayed by the West. It was a carefully chosen script: legality over ideology, restraint over aggression. In a world that has grown weary of lectures from Western powers, China is now stepping into a new role: the balanced, reasonable voice, the great power that speaks of order and international law while others, in its view, deliver chaos. The E1 plan certainly didn't go unnoticed elsewhere. European envoys called it a death blow to the two-state solution. But Beijing's tone was different. It was calm, precise, almost judicial in its delivery. And this warning wasn't just for Israel. It was a signal sent to every capital in the Arab world and beyond. There is another superpower watching. A new player is at the table. For the last century, empires have been redrawing the Middle East. The British did it with maps and straight lines in the sand. The Americans did it with military interventions and wars. Now, China enters the fray. But its tools are different: words, loans, and quiet, back-channel diplomacy. But make no mistake, the E1 corridor remains a flashpoint. It is a narrow, critical strip of land that, if developed, could seal the West Bank off from East Jerusalem, effectively locking millions of Palestinians behind a wall of highways and checkpoints. This is the geographic reality. And let's not forget the human cost. Nearly 2 million people in Gaza remain displaced, the victims of recurring wars and collapsed truces. China's foreign ministry explicitly warned that new construction in E1 could unravel even the fragile calm that's currently holding. In their own words, force will not bring peace. So what's Beijing's real aim here? Behind the headlines, it's about visibility. It is about appearing as the one global power that is still speaking the language of humanity and international consensus, even as it meticulously calculates its next move in the great game for global influence. Empires don't just vanish in a blaze of war, they fade. They fade when their words no longer have the power to shape the world. And as America's voice appears to weaken or become more complicated in the Middle East, China's warning grows louder. It is calm, it is confident, and it is cold. Israel's E1 project might just reshape a few square miles of contested land. But China's response? That's attempting to redraw the moral map of power itself. In the end, every empire builds something. They build walls, they build cities, or they build narratives. The only question that matters is whose design will survive the coming storm. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this analysis interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. We'll see you in the next one.